What's going on, guys? So today we're taking a look at Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, diving into the chart on Bitcoin and talking more about what is going on and what we should expect moving forward from here. Breaking it down right in this video, so stay tuned. What's going on, guys? So diving right into this bad boy right now, right here, right? Let's just get into it, right? So I said right like 5 times there. Bitcoin recently pushing up to a high of almost $70,000, $69,000 being the high the other day here on the daily candles, and now currently kind of basing out there at the $65,000 area. If you look at the chart, we can see we got some green with the EMAs lining up there on Bitcoin right now. And looking at this, from the bigger picture, what do we look for in terms of the next pullback, or do we go to the moon? And I'm kind of looking at this like, maybe Bitcoin needs to kind of settle down here a little bit. We had a huge move just recently at the end of September up to a high of 68,000 going into November. If this kind of plays out the way that, maybe we get this pullback here. If we get a pullback to this $52,000 level, being that previous resistance, would be very bullish. We get this type of price action where Bitcoin kind of pulls back here and then ding, 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 and then kind of pushes up and then kind of pulls back and, maybe kind of get this action like that, or we kind of continue that action from here and it pushes up to a new high up there like that. So we got kind of two options. We get a pullback to that $52,000 level, we get the big kind of run to the upside from there, or at the end of the day, Bitcoin just says screw it, I'm not going to pull back, we're going to base out at this level, this $60,000 level, which is interesting because if we go and we draw kind of that previous high being the high right there, that resistance on the high, we've broken through that, and then we had this big pullback down to the 56,000. We've rallied back up there, and then right now today kind of basing out at that area, that $65,000 level. So maybe there's a question of like this: do we just keep continuing higher and following that trend? But one thing that I want to point out here is let's get rid of all these lines. I wish there was a way to get rid of them quicker. If we get rid of all these lines here, and let's look back at some of the other big kind of bull runs that we've had, and let's look at 2017, because I think that's a pretty good example of the overall price action. As you're interested in cryptocurrency, you're interested in NFTs, things like that, we've got a new Discord right here set up. It's the Lava Runners Discord. You can come check it out. I think there's like over 500 people in the Discord right now. Everyone's just been talking about life, sharing, information, talking about maybe the next big cryptocurrency, the next big NFT launch and all that. We got all stuff just popping off, all types of cool stuff popping off. People talking about their lava runners, posting that up all over the world. It's been really cool to see. So I'll put a link down below to the Lava Runners Discord if you want to learn more about that. Come join us, check it out, and see if you want to be a part of the Lava Runners community. Now, there's a question that maybe right now we are at this level with Bitcoin here in 2021. So you can see how Bitcoin had a high, push up there to the $7,000, $8,000 level. It gets denied, it pulls back, it then rallies back up. And like I said, it's looking very similar. If you compare this move on Bitcoin in 2017, we go from $1,000 up there to $8,000. And obviously that seems like a lot of money at the time, but in terms of return, that's about 460% return just to that point of $7,000. Now, if we continue to see this move, you can see how drastic this move gets, because we go from 7,000 up there to 20,000 off of that high. And then that move, really at that point is about another 200, about 150% move from there. So if we just kind of, I'm not saying the percentages will exactly be the same, but if we look at 2017, you had this huge move, we get the pullback, we kind of based out, and it's looking kind of very similar in terms of where we're at now. And remember, at the end of the day, these moves are going to be more accelerated and they're going to be larger and greater because now the price is obviously much greater. So, from 5,000 to 7,000, that doesn't seem like a lot of money at the time. But if we apply that same kind of idea to where we are now, go in the chart, similar to like we were just seeing, with 2017, and we kind of just like zoom out the bigger picture, you can see how this blip here, at the time, it was like very big. It was a big deal, right? That it happened that way. And you can see the overall pullback, but you can see how that break over basically like where we are. Like I said, we're basically at that point, very similar to 2017 when we went from, $1,000 to 7,000 because we're at that resistance here. And it's looking very much, okay, if we look at the gains again, looking at this move, it's very similar to the move that we had in 2017 from that kind of $12,000 level up there to 64,000. And again, we think about it like in terms of percentages and the overall price movement. Obviously, that's a lot more money because we went from 12,000 to 64,000. It's a huge move. But if we kind of think big time, right? Think big picture here, my friends. Think big picture. This is actually a video that I posted in March of 2020. And you can see like I had the same exact idea here. Think big picture. If Bitcoin now breaks above this $65,000, $70,000 level, we would see, you think about it, like you were going to see a move. These charts are kind of hard to do, but we would see a move that would put us like up here to the $120,000, $150,000 level. And, again, if you look at it from like the perspective of what we were seeing in 2017, that move that happened after that kind of double top level, like really like look at it right here. Look at this chart. And then if we go back 2017, look at this chart, like I said, like look at that difference in the price movement there and that pullback at this big push up, the pullback looking very similar. Like this right here, this idea, this move that we're at, this looks very similar to what Bitcoin is doing now in 2021 at the point that we are, in the terms of, overall idea of this move. So if Bitcoin, can break the upside, if we go to 70, we go to 80, we go to 90, we go to 100, I believe, from 100 to 150, it'll happen very quickly. There's going to be a lot of FOMO, and there's going to be a lot of people kind of like, oh my God, I got to buy more Bitcoin. It's going higher and higher. So you're going to create a lot of FOMO. You're going to get a lot of people trying to buy. And the issue, is that it's going to create just more and more demand while the supply basically is staying the same. More and more demand. You can see the volume like through this move here, through this consolidation has been very consistent. So if we get another big spike to the upside, we'll get a big spike in volume, get a big spike in demand. You're going to get, major players. You're looking at countries. You're looking at big banks. You're looking at people all around the world that are thinking like, wow, okay, this could be the next big rocket ship. Well, it already is the next big rocket ship, but in general, the FOMO is going to get very real very quickly. So a move from $100,000 to $150,000 to $200,000 really is not as insane as you think in terms of the overall, price and the velocity and the veracity here at this point, because these moves are only going to get more and more powerful, they're only going to get stronger and faster. And the old days of Bitcoin going up $1,000 in one day, that was like, wow, Bitcoin went from 7,000 to 8,000. But now, you can see, some of these candles, like this candle here, the low on that candle there is 63,000. The high of that candle is, what is it? The high of that candle is 68. So that was a $5,000 move in one day. And we're at 60,000 right now. So imagine if we're at 100,000, you're talking $10,000 to $20,000, moving in one day, just based on the overall of, hype and FOMO and volatility at that point. So this is kind of the way I'm looking at it right now. If Bitcoin starts to make a move to the upside, it's going to get very quick, very fast, and going to really make, a massive move based on that. But there's obviously, we look at it like there's still the idea that maybe we pull back and we kind of bounce off that $52,000 level, being that previous resistance, or maybe we just continue higher, similar to the move in 2017, which again, if you look at that move in 2017, it kind of based out right at that top, being that $7,500, $8,000 level for a few days, kind of based out. And then we start ding, 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 and we start getting these bigger and drastic, or, more velocity, quicker, faster, stronger, all that fun stuff. So that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at the idea because I really think at the end of the day, Bitcoin, the chart on Bitcoin is very simple. It's nothing more than human emotion. If you look at Bitcoin, you look at the media, you look at the hype, you look at the moves, Bitcoin basically is one perfect painting showing that FOMO is very real. That Bitcoin, at the end of the day, the chart on Bitcoin is a perfect representation of FOMO, of human emotion controlling the value of something. And I really, like I said, that Bitcoin move is nothing more than FOMO and hype and people chasing. And when it starts to sell off, people dumping because they ended up chasing. And that's kind of why you get these very volatile moves. So the move on Bitcoin to the upside here, could put us $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 very quickly. And it's funny because one of my friends the other day, we were talking about this, and he's like, I'm thinking about buying more Bitcoin because it's kind of like, like it's still just kind of sitting there. And, the idea is like Bitcoin's already been $65,000 before. We know that's been $65,000 before. And we've seen it kind of basing out at this level. And we're not to a point, like, I don't feel like the market is at a point where we're like, oh my gosh, this is getting crazy. Like at that point, once Bitcoin goes to where we think it's getting crazy, like let's say Bitcoin jumps from $100,000 to $200,000 in a few days. And then it's like, then we're kind of like, oh, well, like this is getting a bit crazy. Like once we really start to see the insanity, then we can ask ourselves like, okay, maybe this is getting overextended. Maybe this is getting a little too crazy. And at that point, we can be like, maybe this is the top of this current cycle. So that's, I think we'll get an insane move to the upside here. And then we'll get a pullback back kind of the median, very much like we have 100 times or 10 times here on the chart with Bitcoin. And well, like I said, it looks very drastic and very insane right now, but the same thing could be said for 2017. And that's something to keep into perspective here. Always keeping, things into perspective with the bigger picture, my friends. And I also think that we're at a point now where the onboarding process, people can buy Bitcoin easier than ever. 2017 was a little bit tricky. You could only really do it on like Coinbase and a few other places. But now there's so many other places that you can buy Bitcoin. And people are aware, people are very much more aware of cryptocurrency and Bitcoin and all of that. So if we start to really get another insane move, it'll be that much easier for people to FOMO into it. So that's my outlook on Bitcoin right now. Like I said, back in March of 2020, look at the bigger picture. Always focus on the bigger picture. Don't focus on these little movements, really kind of think like, wow, it seems like Bitcoin's very like, oh, wow, it's very expensive. It's overextended here at 65,000. But in a year from now, we can look back and be like, whoa, man, $65,000 was cheap on Bitcoin. It could really get to that point. And again, it's just like having that idea of looking at the bigger picture, my friends. So there it is. If you guys haven't already, do me one big favor, hit that like button, the subscribe button, all the buttons down below.